Chapter 4. School continued to be less than a dream. Teachers continued to stand at the chalkboard and jabber nonstop on the benefits of school. A new school system encouraged group work, which I didn't take a liking to, but I learned my lesson from Miss Carolyn and kept my mouth shut. I got out of school 30 minutes before Jem did and did not have the security of him as I passed the Radley house. Therefore, each day I ran home quicker than the speed of light. One afternoon, as I ran past the Radley house, something shiny in the oak tree caught my eye. After passing the tree, I turned around and inspected the area, making sure it was free from any Radleys. I approached on tiptoes and found 2 pieces of chewing gum wrapped in tinfoil winking at me in the afternoon sun. I grabbed the treasures and ran to the safety of my front porch. My first impulse was to get the gum in my mouth as quickly as possible. But then I remembered where it came from. I decided to try this little by little, so I took the gum out of the wrapper and licked it. I waited a while. When I did not die, I crammed it into my mouth. Wrigley's Double Mint. When Jem got home, he asked me where I got the gum. "Spit it out right now," he yelled. I spat it out. The tang was fading away anyway. "I've been chewing it all afternoon and I ain't dead yet, not even sick." Jem stamped his foot. "Don't you know you're not supposed to even touch the trees over there? You'll get killed if you do. You touched the house once." What's up? I just paused it. What's up? Oh, no, I'm not. No. "You touched the house once," I reminded him. "That was different. You go gargle right away now. You hear me? You don't, and I'll tell Calpurnia on you." Rather than have Calpurnia yell at me, I did as Jem told. For some reason, Jem and I didn't have the same relationship we once did. He didn't seem to want to be around me long, and I decided not to worry too much about that now, considering summer was coming, which meant Dill was on his way. Summer was our best season. It was sleeping on the back screened porch in cots or trying to sleep in the treehouse. Summer was everything good to eat. It was 1,000 colors in a parched landscape. But most of all, summer was Dill. The authorities released us early on the last day of school, and Jem and I walked home together. As we came to the oaks at the Radley place, I raised my finger to point for the 100th time to the knothole where I had found the chewing gum, trying to make Jem believe I had found it there, and found myself pointing at another piece of tinfoil. "I see it, Scout, I see it." Jem pocketed the new treasure, and we ran to our porch. When we got there, Jem took out the treasure. Jem looked around, reached up, and gingerly pocketed a tiny, shiny package. We ran home on the front porch, and we looked at a small box, patchworked with bits of tinfoil collected from chewing gum wrappers. It was the kind of box wedding rings came in. Purple velvet with a minute catch. The Jem flicked the tiny catch, and inside were 2 scrubbed and polished pennies, one on top of the other. Jem examined them. "Indian heads," he said. 1906 and Scout, one of them's 1900. These are real old. 1900, I echoed. Say, hush a minute, I'm thinking. Jem, you reckon that's somebody's hiding place? No, I don't know anybody, much less pass by there unless it's some grown person's. Grown folks don't have hiding places. You reckon we ought to keep them, Jem? I don't know what we could do, Scout. Who'd we give 'em back to? I know for a fact don't nobody go by there." Before we went inside, Jem stood and looked at the Radley place for a long time. He seemed to be thinking. 2 days later, Dill arrived. He rode in a train by himself from Meridian to Macomb Junction, where Miss Rachel picked him up in the only taxi from town. Dill looked different this summer. He no longer had his blue shorts that buttoned his shirt. Instead, he was wearing real pants with a belt. He was taller and bigger than I had remembered him. Dill told us a story after story. One was about two twins hitched together who got off the train in Bay St. Louis. We threatened him with fists if he was lying, but he stuck to his story. What do you want to play today? Jem asked. I'm tired of making up games, Dill replied, for we had always counted on him for the new games of the summer. Our first days of freedom, and we're tired. I wondered what summer would bring. Dill stood up and looked down the street at the Radley place. I smell death, he said. I do, I mean it, he said. You mean when somebody's dying, you can smell it? No, I mean I can smell somebody and tell if they're gonna die. An old lady taught me how. Dill leaned over and sniffed me. Jean Louise Finch, you are going to die in 3 days. Dill, if you don't shut up, I'll knock you bow-legged, I threatened. Y'all hush, growled Jem. You act like you believe in hot steams. You act like you don't, I said. What's a hot steam? I asked Dill. Haven't you ever walked along a lonesome road at night and passed by a hot place? Jem asked Dill. A hot steam is somebody who can't get to heaven, just wallows around on the lonesome roads, and if you walk through them when you die, you'll become one too. And you'll go around at night, sucking people's breath. How can you keep from passing through one? You can't, said Jem. Sometimes they stretch all the way across the road. But if you have to go through one, you say, Angel bright, life and death, get off the road, don't suck my breath. That keeps them from wrapping around you. Well, what do you want to play? Jem said. Let's roll in the tire, I suggested. You can push, I said. Little did I know Jem was about to get back at me for disagreeing with him on hot steams. I got in the tire and Jem pushed with all the force of his body. I could not tell where I was rolling, nor could I put my hands out to stop. I stopped with a large thump and was thrown out of the tire. Behind me, I could hear Jem and Dill yelling, and all I could do was lay there, dizzy and nauseated. Scout, get away from there! Come on! I finally raised my head to see the Radley place sitting still in front of me. I got to my feet as Jem continued to yell, my knees shaking when I reached Jem. Why didn't you bring the tire? Why don't you get it? I screamed back. Go on, it ain't far inside the gate, I continued. Jem looked at me, decided it wasn't in his best interest to decline a dare, and ran to the yard, grabbed the tire, and ran back. See there, nothing to it. Scout, sometimes you act so much like a girl, it's embarrassing. Jem glared at me and wasn't about to stop until Calpurnia yelled that it was lemonade time. I know what we're going to play, Jem announced. Boo Radley. I now saw that Jem was trying to tell me he wasn't scared at all. The new game involved playing the parts of Mrs. Radley, Mr. Radley, and of course, Boo. As summer progressed, so did our game. We polished and perfected it, added dialogue and plot until we had created a small play. It wasn't fairly sure Boo Radley wasn't inside the house, but I couldn't prove it, and I felt it best to keep my mouth shut, or I would be accused of believing in hot steams. It was a melancholy little play, scraps of gossip and neighborhood legend. One day, we were so busy playing the Boo Radley game that we didn't notice Atticus approaching. What are you all playing? He asked. Nothing, said Jem. Give me those scissors, Atticus said. I hope this doesn't have anything to do with the Radleys. No, sir, said Jem, reddening. Atticus's arrival was the second reason I wanted to quit the game. The first reason happened the day I rolled into the Radley front yard. I had heard something so low you could not have heard it from the sidewalk. Someone inside the house was laughing.